Welcome to Evidence. I'm Wes Oliver. I will be your teacher for this semester, both live and on video through various asynchronous videos that you'll have throughout the semester. Evidence is, at its core, simply the study of what a court can consider and present to the trier of fact, usually it's a jury, in resolving a dispute, whether that's a civil or criminal dispute. There's one set of rules of evidence that apply to both criminal and civil cases. We'll read more criminal cases this year than civil cases because there's simply way more criminal trials than there are civil trials. So we will look at this topic of what is admissible and inadmissible in the context more of criminal cases than civil, but the concepts that we'll be looking at will apply equally to criminal and civil cases, and we will certainly have a fair amount of civil cases as we go along. So what I want to do in this first introductory video is I want to give you a sense of how we'll work the class. Obviously, in person, we'll meet in the room, and I'll walk you through that, the procedures for getting in and out of the class, and how we'll be conducting the class on the first day when we're all in person. But I want to give you a sense on how to use the learning management system and our online casebook in this introductory video. So I'm going to share my screen and you'll see our screen. There we are. Share. All right, so you should now be seeing the Duquesne Blackboard site for this class. And if you look at the site, I've already pulled up for you the course content, which will be where you'll go to do the bulk of the work that we will do in the online component of this class. So we'll click on the first week, and you can see there that there will be in each introduction of what to expect. And you can see in our first week, you can expect that we will look at why we have rules of evidence to begin with, and we'll begin to study relevance. When you scroll down below that, there's an activities checklist that shows what you'll be doing for the course of the week. We'll be looking at certain reading from Charter course, which I'll explain in a second. And you'll be doing a reading quiz at the end of the reading and the videos that I'll give you. That'll be a part of the Charter course system that I'm about to introduce. For our very first class, if you scroll down further, there's an introductory exercise. You'll be doing this introductory exercise even before you've read anything, and that's the whole point of this. I want you to do this exercise to think about why we have rules of evidence in the first place. Let me pull that exercise up for you so you can see what it will look like. It'll begin with this screen that'll explain the parameters of the problem to you. And then you'll simply click begin. And that will take you to the questions. As you can see, these questions deal with the admissibility of various pieces of evidence that are introduced through the vehicle of emails. And you'll be answering short answers in these little blocks below and submitting them. And after you have submitted all of your answers, you'll get a response in the Blackboard system that will explain to you my responses to each of these issues, and then we'll talk about those on our first day of class. If we go back then to the first day of class, or the first week of class, you'll see then that the final entry for that week is the reading quiz that's due August the 27th. There will be a reading quiz, as I say, at the end of the reading for each class, which we do before we begin to meet for each of these classes. And so you'll have a total of 24 reading exercises or reading quizzes that we do before class. There won't be one for the last day, which is a review, and there won't be one for the very first class because you'll be doing the written exercise that assumes no prior reading for the very first day of class. But for the 24 classes in between, there are multiple choice questions which will look like this. You will do these questions, you will submit them, you'll get a score, and you'll get my explanation of each one of the answers, and then we'll talk about the reading quizzes in class. You're also going to be using a different sort of online casebook. Rather than have you buy a casebook, I have rewritten my entire casebook in an online format, something called Charter Course. And there's another video right after this one that will demonstrate how to purchase your access to Charter Course. And that's coming up. You can look at that right after this one. But right now I want to show you what Charter Course itself looks like. This chart will have all the materials that you'll be reading for the class. So our first week, after we look at our introductory exercise, we'll be looking at relevance. I'm sure you've heard the term from watching any number of television shows about relevance. Objection, Your Honor, relevance. What exactly is relevance? So you'll see in the syllabus a notation that we'll be looking at the Charter Course reading for relevance and its limits, and say we're looking at conditional relevance. So when you come to conditional relevance, you'll have cases in conditional relevance, U.S. versus McNeely, for instance. And as you'll see from the length of the case U.S. versus McNeely that I have for you here, I have trimmed these cases down to very short snippets, and this will make the processing of the information much more speedy, and we'll look at more material in shorter bites than you do in a typical law school class. So that's kind of how the class will run, and that's that. Let me stop sharing my screen. Stop sharing, and that takes us back to a full view. So welcome to Evidence, and look forward to having you in class. If you at any point have any concerns about the class, by all means, email me, oliverw@duq.edu, and I'll respond very quickly to your questions and concerns. Just quickly, to tell you about how we'll grade the class, 25% of your grade will be the quizzes that I introduced to you, and there will be 24 of these quizzes. I'll drop your 4 lowest quiz scores, and then the remaining 20 quizzes will constitute 25% of your grade. And then there will be a kind of a standard final exam with short answers and an essay that will constitute the remaining 75% of your grade. So welcome to Evidence, and we'll get started as you move to the video that introduces to you how to load up Charter Course.